This is the Hornady lock and load auto progressive, the lock and load AP. I wanted to do a quick review on it. I've done a lot of loading on this press. I'm probably around 4,000 rounds into this press, maybe a little more. So I wanted to go ahead and do a review since I've got a lot of use out of it now. And maybe it'll help somebody out there who's looking to get into reloading, because this is not an inexpensive proposition to get started with. So for starters, I'll start with the powder measure. The powder measure on this, the Hornady lock and load powder measure, is an excellent measure. I find that once you get this thing dialed in to your powder throw that you're looking for, you get it metered right. It's very consistent from that point forward. I usually check at around 20 rounds, then again at around 50, and then at 100. And typically, I don't have to touch this. It's very consistent. So if you're looking to reload and you're getting a single stage press and you're just looking for a powder measure, this would be a great option. It works extremely well. Now onto the press. I'll start by showing you a couple things I've done to the press. The first thing, I'll move the camera for this, is this stand. This stand is built by Inline Fabrications. It's very similar to the Dillon Strong stand. It's very solid, works extremely well, and I really like it. It makes a big wide footprint for the stand, for the press to sit on, and it just makes everything much more stable. I put on it, which was also by Inline Fabrication, was the ergo handle. This makes a huge difference when you're reloading. It makes, you don't have to, the downward stroke stops much higher than it does with the factory handle, which I have right here. This is your factory handle. And the factory handle, it turns way down. So I'm tall, I'm 6'4", and I found that every time I did every stroke, I was having to bend over a little bit every time, and that got old really quick. So that's why, part of the reason I went with this. The other part is because this ball does get uncomfortable after a while. So I bought the ergo handle. It's got the roller handle on it, and it's also, you know, the shape makes it to where you don't have to bend over anymore. And this made a huge difference in using the press. It makes it much more comfortable to use. The press is done good. I do have a couple of complaints about it. The first problem was one of the shell plates I ordered was out of spec, and it wasn't true or flat. So I had to call Hornady. I was having a problem with my brass case hitting the back of the sizing die on a 9mm, so I would have to reach in here and pull the brass forward slightly on every cycle. So I called them and talked to them. They sent out a new one ASAP, no questions asked, no charge, and that remedied that problem. Another problem I've been having with this press is the timing. Each time I make a cycle, sometimes this plate doesn't go into position quite all the way into, it stops just before the notch that it clicks into, and I have to reach up here and pop it in manually like that. So I've messed with the adjustments down here as per Hornady's instructions. I've not been able to get this press to time correctly. The other problem I've had with this press is from this piece right here, which is one of the only plastic pieces on this press. What it is it holds this guide rod in place. This guide rod, you'll see, there's a wheel that follows along that guide rod that's the primer pickup system. And that's the purpose that rod serves. It just pulls it out, and that roller follows the guide rod. And you can see down there the plate going back and forth. The problem I'm having is that the upward pressure that wheel puts on this plastic piece that holds the guide rod in place is flexing this bracket up and breaking it on this seam. This is the second one that I've had, and this one is actually currently broken. What I did is fabricate a piece of aluminum. It's just a stiffener, I guess you would call it, that sits on top of the plastic, the factory bracket, and screws down, and it holds it. So I've probably loaded probably over 2,000 rounds with this, using this bracket, and I haven't had another problem, but it is starting to flex this bracket up, which that's got to take quite a significant amount of pressure to bend that aluminum. That's 1/8 inch aluminum. So apparently I still have a problem, but this is working. I'll take this off and straighten it as needed, because I don't want to send my whole press in right now to have Hornady look at it. So I'm just gonna do the best I can and make do with what I have here, and show you, give you a better shot of this. This is the bracket in question, and this is where the rod slips up into it, and it basically just sits like that. And this seam right here is where I keep having the problem, right along this seam right here. So that's been an ongoing issue with this press. Not sure why, not sure what the cause of it is. So that's the press. I am happy with the press. I've loaded, as I've said, I've loaded a lot of rounds with it. I started out with a Hornady single stage lock and load, which was a fantastic press. I really liked it. And I also used a Hornady lock and load powder thrower with that press. It did me very well. I loaded a lot of rounds with it, but I did eventually move up to the auto progressive to save time. And I've been asked before if I had to do it over again, would I go back with Hornady? And that question is kind of a twofold question, because if it wasn't for the bullet promotion that you have, the get loaded promotion that Hornady runs on their equipment, I probably wouldn't go back with Hornady. I would probably go with Dylan, because anybody who's looked into reloading or has reloaded knows that Dylan is kind of the gold standard, in my opinion, when it comes to reloading presses and equipment. But you can't overlook the free stuff Hornady gives you. I mean, with this press, I got 500 rounds of 10mm or 40 caliber XTP Hornady bullets. These things are not cheap. They're expensive as far as reloading bullets go. And I got 500, as I said, with this. I got another 300 with some dies that I bought, and I also got 500 with my lock and load classic reloading kit that I ordered a couple of years ago. So I had 1,300 of these 40 caliber bullets, and I stuck with 40 caliber because I shoot it a lot, and I also that was one of the more expensive bullets that Hornady sells, so you might as well get the best bang for your buck, so that's what I got. And so what I ended up with was a very large cache of personal defense rounds. These would probably cost you, these run for about $1 a round if you buy Hornady personal defense ammo. And I've got probably 1,000 of them put up. So, you know, you're talking about a very significant amount of money in bullets that you get with these presses. So that definitely played into my decision making. And I guess if you know, unless you have more money than I do, it's probably going to weigh into yours as well. So if that promotion is still going, that is definitely something to think about, because a lot of people I know who have these presses have not had a single issue. You know, I've had a couple. I don't know if it's because if I use it more or it's just my luck, but I have had a couple issues with the press, and I continue to have a couple issues, but they're not deal killers, and I still use the press extensively, and I really enjoy it. So that's just something to think about. I hope this review helped somebody out there looking to reload. This is not a small investment. I know that, and I would suggest doing all the research you can before you spend your hard-earned money on one of these some of this reloading equipment. Thank you for watching. Any questions, please go ahead and send me a message. I don't mind answering questions as long as they aren't specific recipes for reloading. Wouldn't be able to answer those types of questions, but anything else, please don't hesitate to ask. I'll help any way I can.